I was amazing, like, okay, you know what, I don't have to present anything after this. There's an echo again. Hello? Hello? Is that okay? So, what I thought is that, you know what, given that we have almost like every industry leader who is handling collection in some form or other coming here, let's do a little bit of crystal balling, okay? What does the future look like? And not like very far away, but if you just look at the next 5 years, 10 years, what's going to happen? So what we have tried to do is sort of put the context that how is this collection problem in general, or the function of collection is going to change drastically, depending upon what is needed or where India is needed. Right? There is always a saying that make sure you show up to the battle with the right tools. You don't want to show up in a battle with a pocket knife when everybody else is carrying like guns there, right? So are we there yet? And what is it that is really going to hit us very hard if we don't innovate and if we don't leverage technology for everything that we do in collections today? And trust me, I'm walking through the journey, this sort of perspective, and would love to hear your perspective as well on what we are presenting. Okay? So, what I thought is that let's look at a few things about what is happening now, right? Because the last few years has been a very, very different sort of you can call it a black swan event, like we went through COVID, which has never the world seen, and then suddenly like we are seeing enormous growth. India is sort of the fastest growing economy and all that. So India rendered this 184 trillion last year. And this is the sort of breakdown of what is happening. If you just project from here, that what is going to happen in the next 5 years, because all of us are tracking that in 5 years, India is poised with a 6.5 to 7% growth, almost a 6.5 to 7 trillion economy. And if today, sitting at 194 trillion, if it suddenly goes like 150%, what is going to happen? Today, just for information, how many total outstanding loans exist in India today? How many people have outstanding loans? 10 crore. Around 150 crore people. 10 crore are the open loans at this point of time. Now imagine when the economy goes 1.5x, what is that is going to be, right? The NPA paradox, I think I don't have to preach to the choir here. 12-year low, yet 51.9% of the US come from unsecured loans, right? We have gone through cycles that people become extremely enthusiastic about open the doors for unsecured loans, then claw back, then again go into secured loans and all those things. Those are happening, but are those like small blips in the overall narrative, or are they the main narrative, right? So we'll explore a little bit of that, right? Small ticket was showing the stupid skips. This was what I should say, the sudden increase in personal loan over a period of time not happened, right? And was it sustainable? How many people are really, if you triangulate a few things, how many people file ITR? What is the average median earning of every Indian today? Right? Based on GDP per capita. And how it is going to change over the next 5 years, right? Growth versus risk, I think this is a constant thing. As you know, as UBP also run the largest marketplace of co-lending and supply chain finance and all that. So we also see that what is happening from the perspective of how are banks trying to grow the top line. I think a little bit covered that about how can collection be a very, very enabler rather than just a cost center. Right? Now, these are the other credit new frontier, and we did a white paper on this as well. How we are seeing the rapid expansion in tier 2 and tier 3 cities with respect to the growth. And there is also, it is not just a, what I should say, social reason, or it is not just a, what I should say, evolution reason. There is a practical reason of it. And if you see that what Niti Aayog presented about India is that it is not that hello? Okay. All the growth is coming from the, say, tier 1 cities anymore. right? Because these tier 1 cities can't handle the migration of so many people just from the infrastructure perspective. So, many sister towns, sister cities, pair of cities like twin cities and all those things are going to come up. Tier 2, tier 3 are going to explode, right? Credit demand is rising, MSMEs, but I'll just put some perspective, okay, so that you realize that where we are. And coming back to the whole point of are we going to a gun battle with a pocket knife, okay? Today, only 12% of Indians have access to credit. 12%. Only 14% of MSMEs have access to credit. That's it. Now, I'm not saying 100% is eligible, they are not. But just to a comparison to some developed countries, okay? I checked the number that what percentage of US population, total 350 million population, what is the credit penetration in US population? The number was 140%. Which each person has more than one loans. 2, 3, 4 loans. That's what is fueling what is their dreams, their entrepreneurship, everything. Consumption also, but that is sometimes a little bit of bad credit in some way, but that is where they are. And if India has to grow to a sort of a 6 to 7 trillion economy, imagine what is going to happen with respect to how the collection has to become an enabler of credit, not the other way around. I will just give one more point here, okay? And this is what we see from the top line of credit market in India, okay? Banks across the spectrum are baffled by a very interesting phenomenon. I have a customer for the last 4 or 5 years with me. When they need a home loan, they go somewhere else. Why? Right? Because banking is built on LTV, right? How do I sort of create more and more LTV with our customers? Why is it that what these people are going for when they need a home loan, they're going somewhere else? Two very, very interesting insights. Okay? First interesting insight came is that, to what Anil Sir was also saying, the bank is falling in spray and pray, not understanding the context of the consumer, where they are in their life stage. You are not part of the journey. We say they're not actually consumer-centric, but are you part of the journey? Do you understand them? Over a period of time, when do they need money for house, when they need money for a car, when they need money for child's education, when they need money for some education for their own selves, everything. We don't understand. So now, flip the argument a little bit, okay? India has the largest, what I should say, demographic dividend, isn't it? Now look at the next 5 years. Do you want that as a bank, I come in the last minute and say, okay, now this is the working population. Their earning levels have increased significantly. They have money and also they want to sort of go for their dreams.
ही डाउनलोड नाही होणार, फक्त आपण अपलोड केली आहे. ती फक्त प्रायव्हेट दिसणार नाही. प्रायव्हेट हां मॅम लाईव्ह स्ट्रीम करू शकतो माहिती आहे. जेव्हा आपण लिंक पाठवतो ना, जेव्हा आपल्याला कोणी फॉलो केलेलं असतं तेव्हा त्यांना दिसतं. आपण जेव्हा लिंक पाठवतो ना आणि जेव्हा ही व्हिडिओ पोस्ट होणार लाईव्ह तेव्हा त्यांना दिसतं. इकडे समजलं तुला.
So very interestingly, we do some these LTV calculations with different banks for the customer base, for the existing ETB customers, and we see that it's very low. That is the biggest struggle. And now you look at all the touch points that you have with the consumer. Somebody was saying just when I was standing outside, how do you determine that for your best customers you don't need to do anything as part of the collection? What is the no-op strategy? Versus where is the strategy? And the second interesting point which came from consumers, by the way, we talked to a few consumers that are not, okay, you are such a long customer of this bank, but for home loan, why do you go somewhere else? They said that I don't trust the systems of the bank. If I just raise the request that I need a home loan, I will be spammed for the next 10-15 days. I don't want to be spammed. I want a solution. So the opportunity is in front of us, okay? Saying that if you really see that how India is going to evolve and what each financial institution has to gain from being at the forefront of technology is immense. What is also tells is that if you don't look at as a technology first and a very client compassionate systems, policies, one is going to lose it. Okay? Next, this is the other part which we are saying, right? And banks don't realize that, right? Every financial institution realizes that if I have to be part of this growth story of India and have outrageous gains, collection cannot be a part of this function. Right? Somebody asked a question about what is the customer compassion. I think that was one of the best questions I had to do. Right? How do you sort of make sure that you are not losing out on compassion on majority of your customers and be part of their journey, part of their growth, grow with them. Right? So this is the founded, move from back office to boardroom. And very interestingly, I think like what you saw, right? Like look at like last 10 years. Where majority of the tech talent were going to? They went to e-commerce a lot. They went to mobility, right? Uber, Ola, all of those, all mobility a lot. I think a lot went to advertising, right? Which was okay. My mind, okay, not to invest the best minds there. But I spent 10 years in advertising as well. But the thing is that taught India in a lot of ways that how to build for a population scale. If you see all these technologies that people have gone into, how to build things at population scale for ourselves. Right? Now, that big talent is also coming into saying that if we have a vision that how we can make credit available to everyone in India and grow this number from 12% to 60% to something very, very significant which we are proud of, people are committing to that vision. And we are seeing tech talent and tech money go into solving this problem really, really fast, which also be it cloud adoption, be it AI adoption, right? Be it about completely reimagining the whole process, right? How they are doing it, and if you see that one, this is I think like I'm sure all of you like looking at that. In the next 5 to 10 years, one of the big differentiations between countries will be that who has more computing power for AI. And you saw recently what government did with respect to that we are putting together a massive capacity with respect to GPUs and all those things, so that we have our own AI infrastructure, because that will define where the country will go. Right? So it is very important, all of us in this room, to sort of say that how we cannot become the limiting factor towards India's growth, but embrace it and understand that what is the challenge. It is not an incremental thing that we are looking at. We are looking at a paradigm shift. And that's what we have to reimagine. That's what we have to sort of figure out that how does it work. Somebody asked a question that is AI really there or it is just a hype? Trust me, it is not. See, any new technology when it comes along, even somebody gave an example of mobile phones when they first came in, right? A lot of people say it's a hype. But look at what it has, how it has transformed India today, right? It is going to happen. We don't have an option as a country to swim upstream on this. Right? We have to see that how it works, where it works, understand its limitation, train it, build it better, personalize it, make it work for you. Right? Same thing I remember, when e-commerce was coming along, I spent before my engagement here, I used to work for Flipkart. Before e-commerce came in, there was always a thing, nobody will buy online. Who will buy online? Everybody will put. Look what I did to that. So this type of technology, when we look at AI, is a truly very disruptive thing, which is like sort of bound to change how we imagine solutions in the first place. And it is not about fire and forget. As I said, it is going to run in a co-pilot mode for a long period of time. But also important is that in a co-pilot mode, how is it learning every minute, every hour, every day, every day, every day, every day? So that it is becoming much more smarter for humans. Okay? These are the other aspects. I don't think like we obviously are in a regulated environment. And the whole aspect of transparency. 1600, cash collection was safety digital, border first practice disclosure. If you say RBI is also upping the ante on this, because some things which are like sort of on the horizon is visible to everyone. That if I have demographic dividend, if I know that the earning power of people is going to increase significantly, and their aspirations are going to grow, what type of infrastructure we need in India? Right from having the right AI infrastructure to right policies. Right? So that the real players outpace everyone else and provide a solution which is sustainable, which is compassionate, and which is at the cutting edge of technology. Right? Agentic AI, again, trust me, like people thought that they were not, okay. How many of you have seen the movie Interstellar? Interstellar? Do you remember the docking scene? Right? This is like one of the most famous scenes, right? Where Cooper is trying to sort of connect his craft to the main craft. First he manages to manage the speed, right? So that I have a single visual of how to connect, and then he asks the remote, I have now docked it. But the human there was playing a major role, right? Trust me, the best example I've seen when we are seeing agentic AI working, imagine that whole two-step process. Agentic AI is doing, and the beautiful thing about that is you don't have to tell agentic AI that these are the two steps. That's how you have to understand agentic AI. It is not just an automation. It is not. Given a problem statement, given a goal, what are the steps I should expect? And then, how do I invoke the right amount of caliber, right amount of technology, right amount of what I should say capability? Execute those steps and move forward.
हाँ इसका ये पहले लाइव होने दो.
This is what agentic AI is. It's not a next version of what I say automation coming in new garb. Okay? And we get surprised day in and day out with respect to like, okay, how we are doing right from the point of even like sort of. I wish I could show the demo here, but we'll do it some other time. Given a sector, given an institution, can you figure out the steps of improvement? Just this. Imagine you having a companion like that. And then you can train it based on your own data, based on your own policy of credit underwriting for the last 30, 50, 100 years, whenever you have. Imagine feeding that. Same thing, somebody asked a question that how do you find out that which customers are my best customers? How can I be part of a consumer's journey during his or her lifetime? It's not easy. That's what it is all. If I have to use one word, what we are saying with respect to this whole application of agentic AI to different fields of collection, right from the point, like I saw the first slide there, the first is that you are doing some sort of scoring. What to do for scoring? Till now, I've been in technology the last almost 29 years. If I have to say, like last 25 years, it was all procedural. Somebody was telling this is the logic, step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4, go execute. Now the question becomes, how can you execute it very efficiently, repeatedly, and always with the same output, and you can do it at scale, right? That's what, it was very procedural engineering for the last 25 years. Things have drastically changed in the last 4 years. Now it is that, given a problem, given a goal, can you tell me what are the options? Now each one of the options, can we further, make it learn. So I think like it is very important, like, because you will gradually see that how the solutions are inherently changing. Right? And I use this like interstellar example to make people understand that how it is different. Right? And if we don't understand the magnitude of the disruption that it is bringing in, we'll shortchange it, right? And any organization, if it's shortchanging that, trust me, it will be very difficult to catch up. Because one of the things, I don't know if you guys have seen now, right? With all the LLM models coming in, once a new LLM model comes in, it completely is a runaway from other, it's a breakout, right? The pace at which it is like sort of improving is insane. The opportunity for the second guy to catch up is almost none. Because that's the pace at which it is improving. And if that percolates into all the solutions to build everything, right from segmentation to scoring to sort of like what is the messaging, somebody said, right, how can I have a separate message for every single person? It's possible, we are doing it. And trust me, it is not something that I constantly do this, do that. He's able to figure it out. Of course, there are problems of hallucination and there are ways to deal with hallucination. You limit what it does. Where it is giving you a line of, a chain of thought. Versus where you are saying that I will be very prescriptive in what you do. Okay? And one of the other aspects is this, right? So, compliance, trust me, like both from it is not just a thing that we want to get, it is not just policing. Okay? Compliance has huge relationship with how your top line will grow. Remember the whole thing that I started with. But are you part of the journey of the next workforce which is going to define India? If a non-compliant is there, we have lost it for the next 5-10 years. Trust me, they will not come to you. They will not touch you with a pole. So compliance is not just a good to have type of a thing and all that. It is very, very related to what your growth pattern will look like. What is the growth trajectory? And the part around compliance is this, okay? I give this example. Suppose there are no driving rules. I know like people don't follow that much driving rules in India, but I remember when I was in US, I had to give a written exam, I had to give this exam, I had to take classes for driving, and then I used to get this thing. Imagine those people, they were not there. And people say, I will tactically solve like how people drive on the road. Oh, at this point, you have to turn left. Oh, this happened, you have to turn the indicator. If you don't have a framework, then it becomes a whack-a-mole situation, isn't it? You are trying to address every single compliance ticket. Oh, what do I do now? What do I do now? What do I do now? Because you don't have a framework. Now, when you have a framework, what happens is it gives you an amazing, what I should say, springboard to grow your business. Because the problem with compliance is if you don't build a framework, when you are at a very high scale, your failure will also be very catastrophic. Right? Because you have automated the error to a massive scale. Right? So now we are also applying agentic AI in the compliance to understand patterns. Right? Understand patterns and sort of say, tell me in this situation what will be the steps? What should be the checkpoints? What do I have, what I don't have? Do an audit of my entire compliance. So it is going that deep, okay? So, I think this is my last slide. I guess if I have to give that one message is that collection is getting in front of its job. Trust me. It is not a cost center. It is not that you cannot cost up, like you cannot get it done at the lowest cost. It is about how can collections be a growth lever for the next 5 to 10 years. I will end my talk with one thing, is that the biggest hope that all of us can take with us today is it that what AI can do, what agentic AI can do for us and how technology will reshape this for the next 5-10 years will be in a very good place if the reality is beyond everything what we have imagined today. It can surpass everything that we are even thinking in our crystal ball. So with that, I will end my crystal ball talk. Thank you.
हाँ करता
Any questions? Happy to take that? I think there is a mic there. No.
So this is out of box